No, it's but your husband is like, hey guys, stay back. Doug, how is this broadcasting? Sorry. I don't know. I don't know if that's
Don't record. There's another one over here.
Close to you on the camera. That's what I'm saying for you. If you don't want the top of your head on the camera, just stay a little bit.
Oh, stay back. That would look lovely on your pictures.
Not mine.
It was like, what, 10 minutes? No, I'm serious. It was like 10 minutes.
Meg, there's room over here. Or
Am I too close to you?
you're not.
No. You're fine.
Welcome. How are you guys tonight? Thank you for coming out. Yeah, you can arrange it. I call it COVID pod seating. It's like you go to your little COVID pod, and then if you need another COVID pod seat, you go to a neighboring pod. You say, "Can I take one of your seats?" And then you can join into your pod. We have this all this pod. I've never had to do this before in my life, so it's really interesting. Normally, it's me taking every chair that's here and all the 100 chairs that are in storage over there and filling up this whole place. And we'll do 2 nights of the show. This has been really interesting to do it this way, but it's been a joy in its own way, because I got to work individually with each of the grades, the 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. And we have a pretty talented middle school, I'll tell you that, man. And when these guys have this experience, when they get up to 7th and 8th grade, they are going to be rocking it in whatever play we do there. They're an incredible group to work with. Some people I need to thank. First off, I'll start with my stage group. Right over there is Jack Kirster. Look behind you there. Jack is in 7th grade. And Jack is running the sound for me. He was in the play last week playing 2nd Narnian Lord. You were the first? 2nd Telmarine Lord. Sorry, not Narnia. You were 2nd Telmarine Lord. And we had such a good time doing that he offered to work on the stage crew. And I said, Jack, I need someone to run the soundboard. And he's done a fantastic job. I can just kick back there, and it's really enjoyable to have somebody like that. Up next, my backstage crew. Here they come. All right. Now, we feature Jack's sister, Anna, in the backstage crew right there. And Julia Derwitz is also an author for the 6th grade. And Tabby writing. They have so many scripts backstage with all the scene changes in it. We're not going to forget the one they forgot this afternoon, but that's okay. We're not going to do that one. And then we have our 2 volunteers. Lucy apparently living with me is not enough time to spend with me, so she spent years with me. My daughter Lucy and Louis, Pennsylvania, who has been incredibly helpful. He also was Edmund last week. Well, my daughter was Hickory last week in last week's play. So they're actors and now they're tech. Thank you guys. The costumes are amazing. They are amazing every year, for every show. And Mrs. Maitland, we both teach, and we just don't know how we did this year. But she costumed 3 shows, and did an amazing job. And she's sitting right back there, hoping her work lasts. Say, Miss Maitland. She is incredible. And, and I'm not particularly helpful. And and somehow she manages to get done, even when I forget to tell her things of great importance. It kind of boggles my mind how she does that. Right next to Mrs. Malin is a fuzzy-looking dude. Right there. Not that fuzz. He matches my fuzz and overgoes it, and that's Mr. Buchanan. Mr. B. Mr. B and I have very brief conversations. And I say, here's what I think I need. This one was unbelievable. Trying to get him to, we honestly, just working with these guys is just one of the most amazing experiences. They make me look like a genius. I always say that. Like, you know, it's amazing to work with Mrs. Malin. It's amazing to work with Mr. B. And his able assistant, Mrs. Taglianetti, who did most of the painting you see. Okay? Mr. B did like the design concept, and Mrs. Taglianetti did this beautiful painting, this Narnian painting here, which I just love. I always want to cut it out and bring it home with me. I like it a lot. And then finally, this is a tough one. This is always a tough one. Anyway, but it's especially tough now. For the past 7 years, Benjamin Stalder and I have worked on, this is our 13th show together. 13th. And I don't know what I'm going to do without him next year. And I say that without exaggeration. You know, Lucy was giving me suggestions on the way when we were going to buy dinner. It's like, well, there's this dude in the middle school who's really good, and you know, and can play the piano, and I'm sure there is, and maybe they'll have the time. But Benjamin has given himself so completely over to the work at our Aquinas Theater. If you were able to see the Addams Family, he was the musical director for the Addams Family. If you were able to see Anything Goes, he was the musical director and performed for Anything Goes. He was a major influence and essentially the musical director for Guys and Dolls when we did it there. In addition to that, he's acted. When he was acting in our production of Pride and Prejudice, he also wrote the music for our production of Pride and Prejudice and recorded it. Okay? And I worked with him on multiple middle school plays in his years when he was in middle school. This is sad for me. Because as I said in the Addams Family, he is more like a colleague and a friend than a student at this point. We've worked on so many things together. And he's going to the University of Richmond in Virginia to study music and business. And he will be amazingly successful. And I just want to thank him for his dedication. Finally, your own kids who are going to come out here and perform for you in a second. And they're amazing too. And I'll just tell you this very cool thing that happened about 15 minutes ago. 5 of the kids came up to me and said, Mr. Flynn, can we go to the chapel and pray? And I said, yeah, hold that thought. And I went to the rest of the cast and I said, guys, they all want to go to the chapel. 5 kids want to go to the chapel. If you want to, you can join them. The entire cast and crew went and offered this work up that they're offering for you to Our Lady and Our Lord, voluntarily. I've never had that happen. Never. You got a special group. I hope you know it. Okay? Enjoy our production of Voyage.
There once was a boy named Eustace Clarence Scrub, and he almost deserved it. For Eustace did not like his cousins, the four Pevensies, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy.
But he was quite glad when he heard that Edmund and Lucy were coming to visit, for deep down inside, he liked bossing and bullying.
Our story begins on an afternoon when Edmund and Lucy were stealing a few precious minutes, talking about their very own secret country, Narnia, and the promise that had been made to them that someday they would get back to Narnia.
It just makes things worse looking at a Narnian ship when you can't get there.
Even looking is better than nothing, and she is such a very Narnian ship.
Still playing your silly old game about Narnia. You're not wanted here. Do you like this picture?
Yes, I do. I like it very much.
It's a rotten picture. You won't see it if you step outside. Why do you like it?
Well, for one thing, I like it because the ship looks as if it were really moving. and the water looks as if it were really wet, and the waves look as if they were really going up and down.
What on earth? It is really moving. Stop it! It's some silly trick you two are playing on me. Stop it, I say! I'll tell my mom. Hey! It's splashed us! I smashed her right in! Eustace, look out! It's magic! Don't be a fool!
And so the promise came true. Edmund and Lucy found themselves back in Narnia.
They had been pulled right into the picture, along with Eustace, and had landed in the water, quite near the Narnian ship which towered above them.
Soon ropes were found to them and they were pulled aboard, dripping and shivering.
Caspian!
Lucy, Edmund, and who is your friend?
Let me go. Let me go back. I don't like it.
Let you go, but where?
What on earth is that? Taking away the horrid thing.
Reepicheep! My humble duty to your majesty, and King Edmund too.
Take it away. I hate mice. I can't bear performing animals.
Am I to understand that this discourteous person is under your majesty's protection? Because if not,
Oh, what a fool I am to keep you standing here in your wet things. Come down below and get changed. Lead the way, Chief.
to the convenience of a lady, even a questionable order must be led, at least for the moment.
It seems so long ago that you and Lucy and Peter and Susan were here in Narnia. Do you remember when Aslan sent you back to your own world through that door in the air? Ah, there you are, Lucy. We're waiting for you. This is my patron, the Lord Drinny.
My lady. Where's Eustace? In bed, seasick. I don't think we can do anything for him though, because it just makes him worse if we try to be nice to him.
Meanwhile, we want to talk. First, about time.
Well, it's a year ago by our time since we left Narnia, right before the coronation. How long has it been in Narnia?
It's been exactly 3 years.
All going well?
You don't suppose I'd have left my kingdom and put out to sea and it was all as well. It couldn't be better. There's no trouble at all now between the Telmarines, dwarves, talking beasts, swans, and the rest. And I had an excellent person to lead this region while I'm away. Trumpkin the dwarf. Do you remember him?
Dear old Trumpkin, of course I do. You couldn't have made a better choice.
And where is your ship heading?
Well, that is a longer story. Perhaps you remember. When I was a child, my wicked Uncle Mirus got rid of 7 of my father's friends by sending them off to explore the eastern seas beyond the Lone Islands.
Yes, and none of them ever came back.
Right. Well, Aslan agreed that once I restored peace to Narnia, I would sail for a year and a day to find them, or to learn of their deaths and avenge them if I could. These were their names: the Lord Revilian, the Lord Byrne, the Lord Restamar, the Lord Argos, the Lord Octesian, and the other one.
The Lord Roop.
Roop, of course. That is my mission. Reap Chief here has an even higher goal.
As high as my spirit, I want to go all the way to the eastern end of the world and find Aslan's country. It is always from the east, across the sea, that the great lion comes to us.
But do you think Aslan's country is that sort of country? I mean, the sort you could ever sail to?
I do not know, Your Majesty, but when I was in my cradle, a wood woman, a dryad, spoke this verse over me. Where the sky and water meet, where the waves grow sweet, doubt not, reaper sheep, to find all you seek, there in the utter east. I do not know what it means, but this spell that has been upon me my entire life.
Where are we now, Captain?
The captain can tell you better than I.
The day after tomorrow, we will come to the Lone Islands.
Where will we go after the Lone Islands?
No one knows, Your Majesty, unless the Lone Islanders can tell us.
They couldn't in our days.
Then it is after the Lone Islands that the adventure really begins.
Now, I really must go and see Eustace. Seasickness is horrid, you know. If only I had my magic cordial, I could cure him.
But you do. When you left Narnia and kept your royal treasures safe, your cordial was here on our ship, the Dawn Treader. I don't know if you should use it on a thing like seasickness, though.
It'll only take 1 drop. Let's go.
And so Eustace was cured of his seasickness. Although Lucy and Edmund were delighted to be back in Narnia, aboard the Dawn Treader, Eustace was not so delighted.
It took a long time to convince him that they had no power to send him back to England. What Eustace thought had best be told in his own words. This is what he wrote in his diary he began to keep.
Have now been on this ghastly boat for 24 hours. If it isn't all a dream, it's madness to come out to sea in a rotten little thing like this. Not much bigger than a lifeboat. No radios, no bathrooms, and worst of all, no deck chairs. They call Caspian king. I said I was a Republican, but he'd asked me what that meant. He doesn't seem to know anything at all. Needless to say, I get the worst cabin on the boat, a perfect dungeon, and Lucy gets a whole room just to herself, just because she's a girl. Oh, nearly forgot to mention, there's this type of mouse thing that talks back to everyone. The others can put up with it if they like, but I'll twist his tail pretty soon if he tries it on me.
The trouble between Reaper Chief and Eustace happened sooner than expected.
How dare you! One does not pull a mouse's tail!
Put it away! It's not safe! Put it away, I say! I'll tell Caspian! I'll have him muzzled and tied up!
Draw your sword and fight!
I haven't got one! I don't believe in fighting. I'm a pacifist.
Do I understand that you do not intend to give me satisfaction? Then take that! And now, to teach you your manners, and the respect due to a knight, and to a mouse, and to a mouse's tail. Later, the Dawn Treader came to the Lone Islands. Here, they found the first of the 7 lords, the Lord Byrne. His story was short enough. He had sailed with his 6 companions to the Lone Islands, fell in love with a girl of the islands, and had stayed behind when the other 6 lords sailed away to the east. amazed. Lord Byrne never saw his 6 friends again.
No one on the lone islands could tell Caspian and the others whether there were any lands to the east or not. But Caspian was determined to keep his oath to find all 7 lords. Dawn Treader was stocked with enough food and water to last 28 days. This meant that Caspian only had 14 days to sail east before he would have to abandon his quest and head back to the lone islands. At first, their journey was delightful, but one evening the wind began to blow and a great storm came upon them. Houston recorded the events quite dramatically.
The first day for ages I've been able to write. We were driven before a storm for 13 days. The others say it was only 12, but I kept a careful count. Pleasant to be on a dangerous sea voyage with people who can't even count right. Caspian and Edmund were brutal to me. They forced me to come out on deck and work like a slave. Lucy said Repetit was longing to help, but he was too small. Doesn't she see that everything that little beast does is for the sake of showing off? We've been sailing 5 days more since the storm. Thank goodness we sighted land. Everybody but me voted not to turn back because our water supply was dangerously low. Thank goodness we sighted land this morning. It seems like a tall mountain a long way off to the southeast. I can't wait to get there and get off this rotten little tub.
If Theseus had known the adventure that awaited him on the island, he would have not been in such a hurry to get off the ship.
I thought we'd never see land again. That blasted storm blew us a long way from Narnia.
At least we can refill the water barrels and repair the Dawn Treader. She looks like a wreck.
All right, everyone. First a drink, a meal, and some rest, and then we can get to work.
Work? See, I know. How about a real rest? I'll just sneak away for a little while. Nobody's looking. I'll just take a nice long rest and come back when the day's work is over.
But Eustace's plan did not work out as he expected it to.
First, after he climbed a nearby slope for nearly 10 minutes, he was suddenly surrounded by a thick, cold fog.
Then he panicked and tried to climb back down to the beach, but he couldn't see more than a yard ahead of him, and he could not hear any voices.
I better hurry. What if they left me behind? At last, the fog is clearing. Where am I? Oh no! I must have come down the wrong side of the mountain. So steep. How do I ever get down without falling? How would I ever get back up? Well, might as well get a drink of water before I try. It's a little cave over there, and there's a pool next to it. I'll just go in. What's that noise? Sounds like something crawling. There's something coming out of the cave. Looks like an alligator with wings. There's smoke coming out of his nostrils. I'd better hide so he doesn't see me.
Of course you've guessed that Eustace was watching a dragon. It waddled very slowly to the pool and slid its horrible, scaly chin down to drink. But it suddenly gave a great croaking cry, rolled onto its side, and lay perfectly still. No more smoke came from its nostrils.
Eustace didn't dare move at first, but he couldn't wait forever for his drink. Step by step, he came closer to the dragon, and I was sure it was dead. He stepped over to drink from the pool. Suddenly, a huge clap of thunder boomed, and rain began to pour down.
so Eustace bolted for the only shelter in sight, the dragon's cave.
Imagine his surprise when he discovered the dragon's treasure. Greedily, he stuffed his pockets with diamonds and shoved a large bracelet onto his arm above his elbow to keep it from falling off. Then he sat down to wait for the rain to stop and fell fast asleep. By this time, the others had finished dinner and were wondering where Eustace had gone.
He must be nowhere near, or he had heard you blow your horn.
Why on earth did he run away?
I don't know, but we have to find him. Maybe he got lost, or fell into a hole, or got captured by wild savages.
Or killed by wild beasts.
Good riddance of Peahaws, I say. Lord Drinian! This creature is no friend of mine, but he is the king's cousin. And while he's on our fellowship, we should find him, or avenge him if he is dead.
Well, of course we've got to find him. And that means a search party and endless trouble. Oh, bother that Eustace.
Eustace!
Meanwhile, Eustace slept a long time in the dragon's treasure cave. The moon was shining when he finally woke up feeling strange and very thirsty. So he decided to go out to the pool for a drink. But when he bent down and saw his own reflection in the pool, he almost screamed. The terrible truth was that Eustace was no longer human. He had turned into a dragon and slept on the dragon's treasure with greedy, dragonish thoughts in his heart.
At first, Eustace felt glad to be a dragon. Now he could get even with Caspian and Edmund. But the moment he thought this, he realized he didn't want to get even, he wanted to be friends. He longed to be back among humans and began to see that he had not been such a kind person. He longed to hear a kind word, even from the chief. Then the dragon that had been Eustace sat down and cried its eyes out. At last, he decided to try to find his way back to the beach. He rose high into the air on his dragon wings, flew back to the other side of the mountain, and glided down to the beach.
Let's all show great courage now. A dragon has just landed on the beach, and I'm afraid it's between us and the boat. Our arrows will be no use against the dragon.
Your Majesty.
I could.
No, Reepicheep, you are not to attempt single combat with it. We will all go down and give it a fight.
What's it wagging its head like that for?
There's something coming from its eyes.
Oh, can't you see? It's crying. Those are tears.
It nodded its head when you said that. Do you think it understands us?
Dragon, can you understand speech? Can you speak? Then I ask you to swear your friendship to us by raising your left foreleg above your head. Look, there's something squeezing its leg. That's probably what it was crying about.
Be careful, Lucy. It's a clever dragon. It might be a liar.
Show me your forepaw. I might be able to cure it.
Wait, look. Look at that bracelet.
Why, I've seen it before. The little hammer with the diamond above it, that's Lord Octavian's arm ring.
Bill, have you devoured the William Lord? Perhaps this is the Lord Octavian. You know, turned into a dragon? Are you the Lord Octavian? Are you someone enchanted? Someone human?
You're not Eustace, are you?
Oh, don't worry, they're sure their way disenchanting you. In the days that followed while the Dawn Treader was being repaired, it became clear to everyone that Eustace's character had improved by becoming a dragon. He was anxious to help and spent hours hunting wild goats and pigs to provision the ship. He even carried a great tall pine tree back to the beach, which could be made into a fine new mast for the ship.
On cold, wet nights, everyone would come and sit with their backs against his hot side, stay up warm and dry. One puff of his fiery breath lit like the most obstinate fire. Sometimes he would even take a few people out to fly on his back.
It was a pleasure to be liked and to like people back. But Eustace wondered what would happen to him when the Dawn Treader was ready to set sail. To Eustace's great surprise, his most common comforter was rich. in Narnia? Well, it's really a role, not a house. I would show you more than 100 examples of emperors, kings, poets, and magicians who fell into the most distressing circumstances. Would you believe me if I told you that many of them recovered and lived happily ever after?
Mornings later, Edmund woke up very early. He thought he heard something moving near the woods, but it was barely light enough to see anything. He grabbed a sword and rose to investigate.
Edmund, is that you? Yes, but who are you? Don't you recognize me? It's Eustace. Eustace, you're human. How? I mean, what happened? Hey, let's go tell the others. No. Can you not tell the others just yet? Can we just talk? Well, sure, let's sit down over here. Well, I won't tell you how I started becoming a dragon until I can tell the others. But I will tell you how I stopped being one. Go ahead. Well, last night I was lying awake and wondering what on earth was to become of me. And maybe it was all a dream. No, go on. Well, I looked up, and out of the mist, I saw the last thing I would ever expect. A great dragon was coming towards me. I was terribly afraid of it. It came right up to me and looked me in the eyes and said, "Follow me." You mean it spoke? Well, now that you mention it, I don't think it did. But it told me all the same. So then I followed it up, a long way up to the top of the mountain, where there was a garden. And right in the middle of the garden was a great pool. And there was these great marble steps leading down into it. Then the lion told me to undress. Undress? Well, I thought he must mean shed my scaly skin, like a snake. So I scratched and tore until the whole thing just peeled off. And I stepped right out. But when I looked down, my feet were as ugly and scaly as before. Well, how did you get the dragon skin off? Well, finally, the lion said, "You'll have to let me do it." I was terribly afraid of his claws, but I so desperately wanted to get that awful stuff off. So the lion scratched and tore, it hurt worse than anything. But it was so nice to get that stuff ripped off. The lion picked me up and threw me into the pool, started thrashing about. And all the pain was gone. And when I looked down, I realized why. I was a boy again. It all must have been a dream. No, it wasn't a dream. Why not? Well, they're the new clothes for one thing. And well, you've been on dragons. I think you've seen Aslan. Aslan! I've heard that name before. Aboard the Dawn Treader. Every time I heard it, I hated it. But I was hating everything back then. By the way, I'd like to apologize. I've been beastly. It's okay. On my first trip, I wasn't as bad as you as I was on my first trip to Narnia. You were only a fool, but I was a traitor. But who is Aslan? Aslan is the son of the Emperor beyond the sea, the great lion. He saved me, and he saved Narnia. Everybody's seen him, but Lucy sees him the most often. I think it's his country we're sailing to right now. Come, let's go see the others now.
There was great rejoicing when Edmund brought the restored Eustace back to camp. Then he told everyone how he became a dragon. Some wondered whether the other dragon had killed the Lord Octavian, or whether the old dragon had been the Lord Octavian himself. But everyone agreed that the Lord Octavian had met his death on Dragon Island.
In a few days, the Dawn Treader, prepared and resupplied, was ready to set sail. And from that time on, Eustace began to be a different boy. There were still some days when he could be very tiresome, but the cure had begun.
After 8 more days of sailing east, the Dawn Treader came upon another island. They named this one Deathwater Island, because at the bottom of a little mountain lake, they found the body of one of the 7 lords, turned to solid gold by the magic of the lake. Caspian had now counted 3 of the 7 lords.
After 5 more days, they sighted another island. To their surprise, a house stood on this island at the end of a long tree-lined avenue. As soon as the travelers landed, they headed toward the house. They had gone about halfway up the avenue when Lucy had to stop to take a stone out of her shoe. Soon the others were out of sight, and she couldn't even hear their voices. Suddenly, she heard loud thumping on the lane behind her. The thumping came closer and closer, but Lucy could see nothing but sand scattering, as if it were being pounded by a giant mallet. She darted behind a tree to hide. Then she heard the voices.
Now's your chance, mates!
Here! Now's the chance, he said. Well done, team. Never said your word.
What I say is we get down to the shore between them and their boat, then catch them.
That's the way, Chief. Never made a better plan. Keep it up, Chief.
Off we go then, mates.
Right again, Chief. Couldn't have a better order.
Just as we're going to say ourselves.
What in the world? I've got to warn the others.
Meanwhile, Caspian and the others had reached the stone house. A column of smoke rose from one chimney. Lucy rushed into the courtyard and tried to make them understand what she had seen and heard.
Invisible enemies?
What sort of creatures are they, Lucy?
How do I know? I didn't see them.
I wondered, did they become visible when you drive a sword through them?
It looks like we may have to find out. We must go and face them.
Doesn't look like we have to go to them. They're coming to us. Might as well put those swords away. There's 50 of us here with weapons in our hands.
Here, I'm here! That's our chief. You can depend on what he says. He's telling you the truth. He is.
I do not see these 50 enemies. That's right, that's right. You don't see us. And why not?
Because we're invisible! Keep it up, chief. Keep it up. You're talking like a good chief. They couldn't ask for better answer than that.
You invisible people, what do you want from us?
We want something that little girl can do for us.
Little girl, this lady is a queen!
Queen? Well, we don't know about queens, but we want something she can do. What is it? Well, it's a long story. It's like this. This island is the property of a great magician, and we are his servants. Well, this magician told us to do something we didn't like. And why not?
Because he didn't want to!
So this magician goes upstairs where he keeps all his magical things and puts a spell on us, an uglifying spell. So we wait till this magician is asleep and we creep upstairs to see if there's anything we can do about this uglification. Well, to cut a long story short, all we could find was making a spell for making you invisible. And we thought we'd rather be invisible than go on being as ugly as all of that. But now we're mortal tired of being invisible. So my little girl says the spell, and she's just about the age of your little girl. And there we are, as invisible as you could wish to see. But now we're mortal tired of being invisible. And there's one other thing. We haven't seen the magician since that day. We don't know if he's dead or gone away or just creeping around being invisible like us.
But what's all this got to do with us?
Why, bless me, I've got it left out the whole point.
That should have, Chief. That should have. No one could have left it out any better. Keep it up, Chief. Keep it up.
To put it in a nutshell, we all swore that the first little girl who came to this island would say the spell for us.
But why do you want me to do this? Haven't you got any little girls?
We're not going upstairs again.
So, in other words, you're asking this lady to face some danger you dare not ask your own daughters to face?
That's right. That's right. Couldn't have said it better. Hey, you've had some education. You have. Anyone can see that.
Well, we'll be
Would
I have to do it when it's dark, or can I do it when it's daylight?
Oh, daylight.
Daylight, to be sure. Not at night. No one's asking you to do that. Go upstairs in the dark.
All right then, I'll do it, and don't try to stop me. We can't fight them. At least this way there's a chance.
But, Lucy, a magician.
I know, but he might not be as bad as they said. Don't you get the idea that these people aren't very brave?
And they're not very clever either.
Well, I say you all must come inside and wait till morning. We shall serve you a feast.
All right, don't worry. I'm sure they're harmless.
morning, Lucy awoke feeling nervous going upstairs to find the magic book. She did find it quite hard that she had to walk past a dozen empty rooms to find one with the magic book on it, the last room on the left. The magician could be in any one of those rooms, asleep, awake, invisible, or even dead.
There's nothing to be afraid of. At last! This must be the magician's book. It's huge. I don't even know where to look for the spell. I might be here for hours. Alright, let's see. Cures for warts. Cures for toothaches. How to find buried treasure. How to remember things forgotten. How to forget things you want to forget. Wait, what's this? An infallible spell to make beautiful her that uttereth it beyond the lots of mortals. Why, that picture looks like me, only I look beautiful. And that must be Susan, but she looks rather mean and plain. But Susan has always been the beauty of the family. Well, not anymore. I will say the spell. I don't care. I will say it. That's strange. I saw a lion's face on that page, and it was growling at me. Oh dear, I must keep looking. This must be it. A spell to make hidden things visible. All right, here goes.
And so Lucy said the spell, but later she could never remember the words. At once, she heard footsteps in the hallway.
Oh, that must be the magician. I'm not sure I want to meet him. Oh, Aslan! What are you doing here?
I have been here all this time. You just made me visible.
Don't make fun of me, as if I could do anything to make you visible.
But it did. Do you think I wouldn't obey my own rules?
Oh, Aslan, I'm sorry I wanted to say that spell. You know, the spell to make me beautiful? I saw your face on that page. You stopped me from saying it, didn't you?
Yes, child, I did stop you. But now I must meet the master of this house. Koryakin! Koryakin! I have come!
Welcome, sir, to the least of your houses.
Are you weary, Koryakin, of ruling such foolish people?
No, they are very foolish. They are harmless. I'm actually beginning to grow rather fond of the creatures. Sir, do you intend to show yourself to them?
Nay, it would frighten them out of their senses. And today at sunset, I must visit Chumpkin the dwarf at the castle, Cairpere Vale, where he sits counting his days till his master, Caspian, comes home. Do not look so sad, Lucy. I will come again soon.
What do you call soon, Aslan?
I call all time soon.
Gone! It's always like that. You just can't keep him. It's not as if he's a tame lion, you know? So, how do you like my book? Parts of it, very much. But when will the spell work? It already has. The Duffers are visible again. But they're probably asleep. They always take a rest in the middle of the day. Now that they're visible, are you going to let them off being ugly? I mean, what was it you uglified them for in the first place? Well, they want to do what they were told. Rather than taking water to the garden from the stream right next to the garden, they bounced to a spring half a mile away, spilling half the water on the way back. Are they as foolish as all that? You would not believe the troubles I've had with them. I've caught them planting boiled potatoes to save time cooking them when they were dug up. One time, the cat ran the dairy, and 20 of them went to work, taking all the milk from the barn. Not one of them thought to move the cat. Let's go to the window and take a look at the Duffers. I don't see anybody. Wait, what are those? Go and see for yourself. You're not coming with me? No, but I invite you and your company to dine with me upstairs tonight. Oh, thank you ever so much. Now, I really must go down and see those Duffers.
clouds are visible?
When they can see each other.
Right again, Chief.
Visible we are. She caught the old man napping. She did. We beat him this time.
Here she comes, here she comes. 3 cheers for the little girl. Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip. Hip hip. We're sorry you have to see us like this. We're mortal ugly.
That we are, Chief.
Mortal ugly. You couldn't have said it better.
But I don't think you're ugly at all. I think you look very nice with 1 foot. I think I'll call you monopods. You know, 1-footed. Hear her? She's saying as how we look very nice before we were uglified.
True for you, Chief. That's what she said. We heard it ourselves.
I did not. I said you look very nice now. So she did. Said we were very nice. Then.
Here and bow. Here and bow.
There's a pair for you. Forward, right. They couldn't have said it better.
But we're saying just the opposite.
So you are. So you are. Nothing like an opposite. Keep it up, both of you.
You monopods are enough to drive anyone mad. That's a right nice name you're calling us. Monopods. We like it better than duffers.
Just what we were going to call ourselves.
Money puds.
Party ones.
Dufflepuds.
Okay, well then you Dufflepuds must come down and meet the others. Lively, mates. Lively. Off we go.
Word again, Chief.
Couldn't have better order.
Just what we were going to say ourselves. Off we go.
Maybe instead of making them invisible, the magician can make them inaudible.
That night, the whole party dined at the magician. When Caspian told them about Caspian's quest to find the 7 Narnian lords, the magician told them that a Narnian ship had landed there 7 years ago with 4 Narnian lords aboard. The boat had sailed on to the east, but the magician could tell them about not any lands further east. On the next day, when the Dawn Treader set sail, the Dufflepuds cheered for the routed sight.
After this adventure, they sailed on for 13 days more. Then they caught sight of a strange darkness and decided to risk sailing right into it. They were astonished to find one of the Narnian lords, the Lord Root, who had been lost in this darkness for years. They soon pulled him aboard the Dawn Treader and found their way out of the darkness with the help of Aslan.
After they had sailed on for many more days, another island appeared on the horizon. Of course, they decided to pull in to explore the island. They had not gone very far when they discovered something very unusual.
What is this? A table? Look at all the food. But where are the guests?
I think these ones.
Aren't they dead?
I think not, sire. This one is warm. And it's pulse beats.
This one too. And that one. They're only asleep.
It must be an enchanted sleep. I could feel the magic of this island as soon as we landed. Maybe we have come to break the spell.
We can try.
Oh, Billy's word no more. I say back to nine.
No good. Lucy, try making the other one.
Get to the east, but you still have a chance. Land behind the sun.
Did he say lands behind the sun? Edna, try to write the third.
Pass the mustard, please.
Jordan, I think our quest is at an end. Let's check their rings.
Yes, this is Lloyd Revillian. And this is Lloyd Argos. And this is Lloyd Mavinoy.
But we can't wake them. And I know this food been here. It's maybe she can tell us. Who?
Travelers who come from afar to Aslan's table. Why do you not eat and drink?
Madam, we fear that the food may have cast these men into an enchanted sleep.
They have never tasted it.
Then what happened to them?
7 years ago, they came to this island in a nearly ruined ship. When they came here, to Aslan's table, they sat down here to discuss their plans. The first wished to sail back, wished to stay here to end his days. The second wished to sail back to Narnia. It may be that Miraz is dead, he said. The third leaped up and said, no, we should seek adventures. Let's see if there are lands beyond the sunrise. And as they quarreled, he picked up the stone knife which you see here.
That knife looks familiar.
And as his fingers closed upon the knife, a deep sleep fell upon all three, and they will never wake until the enchantment is broken.
I think I've seen a knife like it before. It looks like the one the White Witch used when she killed Aslan at the stone table long ago.
It is the same one. It was brought here to be kept in honor while the world lasts.
I don't mean to be rude, but how can we be sure you're a friend?
You cannot know. You can only believe, or not. Sire, if you permit me, I will drink to the lady.
Very well.
Lady, I pledge you.
But why is this called Aslan's table?
It was brought here by Aslan's bidding, for all those who come so far. Some call this island the world's end, for although you can still sail farther, it is the beginning of the end.
But what are we to do about the three sleepers? In the world where my friends come from, they have a story about a king or prince who comes to a castle where all the people lie in enchanted sleep. And that story could not break the spell until he had kissed the princess.
But here, it is different. He cannot kiss the princess until he's broken the enchantment.
Then, in the name of Aslan, show me how to break it at once.
My father will teach you that.
Your father?
Look, welcome, travelers.
Sir, will you tell us how to break the enchantment which holds these three Narnian lords asleep?
I will gladly tell you that, my son. To break this enchantment, you must sail to the world's end, or as close as you can come to it, and you must return here. But you must leave at least one of your company behind. And what must happen to that one? You must go into the utter east and never return to this world. That is my heart's desire.
Are we near the world's end now, sir? Do you know of any lands further east than this?
I saw them long ago, rose from a great height.
You mean why?
I was far above the air, my son. I am the great Ramondu! The name. No wonder. From my days of being a star in seas long before any of you world.
Wait, you mean you're a tired star?
Aren't you a star any longer?
I'm a star, yes, my daughter.
In our world, stars are big balls of flaming gas.
Even in your world, it's not what stars are. It's only what they are made of. But tell me, do you resolve to sail into the utter east, leaving one of your company to return no more? Sir, there is no talking about it. It is part of our quest to rescue these lords from enchantment.
I think the same, Rikachi.
Then, we shall sail east in the Dawn Treader. And when she can sail no longer, I shall paddle east in my own little boat. And when she sinks, I shall swim. And, if I've not yet reached Aslan's country, and I can swim no longer, then I shall sink my snout to the sun, and Pikachu will be head of all the talking mice in Narnia.
Then we will set sail in the morning. Madam, I hope to speak with you again when we have broken the enchantment.
Soon after they left Ramadu's Island, they began to feel different. No one wanted to eat much, or sleep, or even talk. And when the sun came up in the morning, it looked twice its usual size. Then one day, Lucy discovered the sea people.
What is that? Why, that looks like a castle down there, and a road, and a park, and people. Why, they're sea people, all mounted on seahorses.
What are you staring at, Lucy?
Look.
Turn around at once, Your Majesties, and don't look as if we were talking about anything important.
Why? What's the matter?
They say it's unlucky to see these sea people. I've heard of men falling in love with the undersea world and jumping overboard.
Man overboard!
He needs Mouse overboard. Let's pull him in.
Drat that mouse. It's more trouble than everyone put together. Sweet! What are you talking about? And don't shake yourself all over me like that. Sweet! Cat! It isn't salt water! The water! Remember the prophecy? For the waves grow sweet. Doubt not, my chief. There is the utter east. Let's lower a bucket. Perhaps Your Majesty would like to taste it first?
Yes, it's sweet. That's real water, it is. I'm not sure it isn't going to kill me, though.
By what do you mean?
Well, it's more like drinkable light than anything else.
That's what it is. Drinkable light. You must be very near the end of the world now.
Here, Lucy, you try some.
Why, it's the loveliest thing I've ever tasted. But it's so strong. We won't need to eat anything now.
And so everyone drank the drinkable light, and it made them feel almost too well and too strong to bear. No one needed to eat anything or drink at all. They could look directly into the sun without them, even though it became lighter and brighter each day.
Then, after many more days, the dawn star sailed into the sea covered with white water lilies. The smell of those lilies was so fresh and wild, it seemed to get into your brain and make you feel like you could wrestle an elephant.
The silver sea, as they called it, became shallower with each passing day. Then, one day, it became clear that the Dawn Treader could sail no further east.
Friends, we have finished our quest. 7 lords are all accounted for, and when you return from Manus Island, you'll find the 3 Narnian lords awakened and the enchantment broken. Journeyman, I entrust the Dawn Treader to you, and when you return to Narnia, you must choose a new king of Narnia.
But sire, are you abdicating your throne?
I'm going with Reepicheep to the world's end.
Caspian, you can't do this!
Most certainly not.
Can't? By the maid of Aslan. I thought you were my subjects, not my masters.
I am not your subject, and I say you cannot do this! You will break faith with all your subjects, especially Trumpkin, if you do not!
And you almost promised Rolanda's daughter to go back.
Oh, well, yes, there is that. Well, have it your way. The quest is over. We all return.
Sire, we do not all return.
Silence! Will no one silence that mouse?
Your Majesty promised to be a good lord to the talking beasts of Narnia.
Talking beasts, yes. I said nothing about beasts. I never stopped talking.
And when the others rejoined Caspian later, they found him with tears in his eyes. Aslan had appeared to him and told him that he must go back to Narnia.
It was terrible, especially his eyes. And he said the worst thing he could have said to me. I am to go back to Narnia. But you, Lucy, and Edmund, and Eustace, you are to go on with Reepicheep to the world's end.
Caspian, you knew we have to go back sooner or later.
Yes, but this is sooner.
You'll feel better when we get back to Ramondi's island.
Reepicheep's own little board on board as well. The John Treader flew all her flags in honor of the departure of King Edmund, Queen Lucy, Eustace, and Reepicheep. There was no need to row as a strong current carried them east. On the dawn of the third day, they saw a wonder head, a trembling, shivering wave, 30 feet high, stood directly in front of the rising sun, and the current was pulling them swiftly towards it.
Look, I see something behind the sun. Mountains. They're so high. I can't even see the tops.
At last, my heart's desire, Aslan's country.
I don't think Aslan means for us to go there. Look, the water's too shallow and the ship has run aground.
Friends, this is where I go on alone. My little boat will be enough.
You're going without us? I don't want you to go, Reepicheep. Yet somehow I know now that this is meant to happen. Goodbye, Reepicheep. I hope we will meet again soon. May I?
King Edmund, Master Eustace, farewell until we meet again.
And so the three children watched as Reepicheep's little boat, carried swiftly by the current, rushed up the top of the towering wave and vanished. Since that moment, no one could have claimed to have seen Reepicheep the mouse, but the children believed that he was safe to Aslan's country and is alive there to this day.
Then the children got out of their boat and began walking south in the warm, shallow water. Soon they stepped onto dry land and then onto grass. And there on the grass stood something so bright white that they could hardly look at it. It was a pure white lamb, which stood next to a small fire with fish roasting on it. Then the lamb spoke.
Come, have breakfast.
Please, lamb. Is this the way to Aslan's country?
Not for you. For you, the door into my country is through your own land.
Your country?
Oh, Aslan, will you tell us how to get to your country from our world?
I shall be telling you all the time, but I will not tell you how long or how short the way will be. Now come, I will open the door in the sky and send you back to your own world.
Please, Aslan, tell us when we can come back to Narnia again, and please make it soon.
Lucy, you and your brother will never come back to Narnia.
Never? Why?
You are too old now, children. You must begin to come close with your own land.
Will you be there too, Aslan?
I will. I am known by a different name, though, a name you must learn. This is the very reason why you are brought to Narnia.
And will Eustace never come back here either?
Do you really need to know that, child? Now come, I'm opening the door in the sky.
And with a line on their forehead, Lucy, Edmund, and Eustace returned to their own world. Only two more things need to be told. What? Back in our own room, everyone had started saying how much Jesus had improved. That is, everyone except his mother, who said he had become very commonplace and tiresome, and then it must have been the influence of his cousins, those pedancy children.
The second is that Caspian and all his men returned safely back to Ramida's island. And the three lords woke from their sleep. And Caspian married Ramida's daughter and returned with her to Narnia, where she became a great queen and the mother and grandmother of great kings.
I did forget something earlier. The Dufflepuds scene you saw really wasn't directed by me. 8th grader, a great, very fine actor in his own right, Joe Chupo. Right over there was Peter. Stand up, Joe. You're tall. Stand up. That's Joe Chupo. He directed the Dufflepuds. It was a great joy to work with. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.
Did you like it again?